Good morning and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Dave Deacon. Stalkers are a large part of the cattle industry in Oklahoma, and SUNUP's Curtis Hare takes us to the Marvin Clemmy Research Station near Bessie to show us what OSU researchers are looking into to maintain a little bit of stability in changing times.
So these cattle started in the middle of May, looking at performance of these cattle throughout the summer on these rolling red shale hills.
It's nearing the end of the second year of stalker cattle research at the Clemmy Research Station in Ouachita County. Today is weighing day. OSU Extension Livestock Specialist Paul Beck is leading the study, and researchers are testing a management practice for stocking rates.
So our goal with this is to be able to increase stocking rate. With this research, we have a set stocking rate of 6 acres per steer for the summer for our normal stocking rate. Our goal was to increase stocking rate by 1/3 by feeding 3.5 to 4 pounds of this range cube supplement per day, trying to look at how we can intensify production, increasing stocking rates without decreasing range condition.
For this research, OSU partnered with a local producer to graze his cattle on about 600 acres of the university's land.
Working with collaborators to supply cattle is a win-win for both OSU and the people we're working with.
While the project is only on year 2, the results so far have been surprising.
It surprised us last year that we were able to both increase stocking rate and increase average daily gain with this treatment. Normally, when we increase stocking rate, we're going to decrease average daily gain. And so our goal was to keep average daily gain about the same, along with that increase in stocking rate. So having an increase in gain along with that increase in stocking rate is very impressive and very economically powerful.
Increasing stocking rates while maintaining rangeland stability is the purpose of the study, but the bigger picture is to help fortify the stalker cattle business.
Our overall goal is to improve the economic resilience of our stalker cattle enterprise. In agriculture, we've got some things working against us as far as increased land costs and cost of production, and an increasing average age of our producers. So to get young people more involved in agriculture, to get them back on the farm or into production agriculture, it needs to be economically sustainable for them. Stalker cattle are a good way for young producers to get involved in agriculture and to build equity in a farming operation by adding value to cattle that are weaned but not ready to go to the feed yard.
Paul and his team are conducting similar research across the state and will continue studies here at Clemmy next summer. In Ouachita County, I'm Curtis Hare.
So Laura, as we just saw, Paul's looking at increasing stocking rates while maintaining that pasture conditions like stability. So when we're talking about stocking rates just in general, what are some things that producers need to think of?
Yeah, so thinking about stocking rate, number one, is really, really important. Stocking rates are actually the number one grazing management decision that livestock producers can make. It's more important than the grazing system that they choose or the stock densities. It's more important than the time of year that they graze their native pastures. It's also going to determine how livestock production goes and just the long-term sustainability and economics that native grazing system provides.
How intense should producers be doing? And that might differ throughout the state, right? Yeah.
So in general, we recommend using a moderate stocking rate. A moderate stocking rate is when you're leaving about 50% of the vegetation there. And when we say that we're going to take 40 to 50% of the vegetation, not all of that is going to make it into the cow. In fact, when we're trying to leave 50%, about 25% of the total will go into the cow. 25% is kind of lost to the environment. It might be used by wildlife. It might go dormant and just be blown away, or it might be incorporated back into our soil. So we aim at using about 50% total, and 25% of that goes into the cow.
So if I'm a cow-calf producer and I'm looking at, thinking like, grazing moderately in my area, what would be considered moderate, might not be, I might be thinking maybe intensifying that grazing, maybe going over that moderate might be best because that cow's gaining more weight. Is the thinking there maybe wrong, and that you might actually be not getting the gains that you think?
Yeah, so it's true, the fact that if you graze more animals, you're gonna get more beef. Well, that might be true for a time being, but you're gonna have more issues with toxic plant consumption. You can have drops in animal performance, like lower weaning weights, lower calf crop, lower conception rates. Those can all be consequences when you try to push that stocking rate to a heavier level. Typically, if you use a moderate stocking rate, you're gonna make about 30% more over the long term than using a heavy stocking rate. Conversely, if you use a light stocking rate where you're not using quite as many animals, you'd probably make about 10% less than if you were using a moderate stocking rate. There's a lot of folks that think that, man, if I just push it to that heavy level, I might be able to make a little bit more money because I'm going to grow more beef. But in actuality, usually the negative consequences of doing that win out, and you actually end up making less.
So, and obviously local county extension educators can help assist producers if they do have questions in regards to how to moderately, stock the land.
Yeah, our county educators can definitely help, and there's some really excellent fact sheets that we have that you can look at to help you figure out what the equations are for estimating your stocking rates and getting an idea of what the forage production would be in your area.
All right, thanks, Laura. Laura Goodman, Extension Rangeland Specialist here at Oklahoma State University. And if you'd like a link to the fact sheets that Laura mentioned, go to our website, sunup.okstate.edu.
Good morning, everyone. This is Gary McManus, and this is your Mesonet weather report. Wes Lee is off this week, so that leaves me more time to talk about our least favorite subject, drought. We're definitely getting dry out there. That's no secret to you folks. Let's get right to our newest drought monitor map and see how it impacts that map. Well, as you can see, it's the same basic drought picture that we've had, a little bit more of that severe to extreme drought across western Oklahoma and the Panhandle area. We still have that moderate area drought that's starting to grow up in north central Oklahoma. But now we see a much larger area, basically from I-44 to the northwest. A lot of the rain deficits that we see have come in the last 60 days. We see from 1 to 2 inches across much of the northwestern quarter of the state, down into the far southwest. And areas of 1 to 2 to 3 inches up in the northeastern part of the state. Only a little area in Osage and Pawnee counties have we seen from 4 to 5 inches. So that's the area we're looking at for the drought expansion with these pitiful rainfall statistics. Take a look at the deficits for that same time frame from the Mesonet. We see again deficits in the 3 to 4 to even more than 6 inches across that area across the northwestern half of the state. Well, if we look at the percent of normal rainfall map, this is not the deficits, but the percent of normal. We see in some cases, in fact, a lot of cases, we have less than 50% of normal rainfall for the last 60 days. And in other cases, we have closer to 30% of normal rainfall. So definitely not good. And that's where we're seeing that expansion of all the nasty colors on the drought monitor map. I'm afraid the outlooks are not good as we go out into the next 3 months. If we look at the November through January time frame for the outlooks from the Climate Prediction Center, we see increased odds of above normal temperatures across the entire state of Oklahoma. The same time frame, November through January, for the precipitation outlook, well, this is definitely not good. We see increased odds of below normal precipitation, especially across the southern half of the state. So that's not the outlook you want to see when you're going into the driest time of the year, when you're already seeing drought conditions start to expand. What's that do to our seasonal drought outlook from the Climate Prediction Center? This is for October 15th through the end of January. I'm afraid it's not good still. The areas in brown in Oklahoma, those are areas of persistence or intensification of the current drought. The areas in yellow, those are areas where drought development is likely. That would basically put virtually the entire state of Oklahoma in drought by the end of January. So that's definitely not good news. What's the culprit here? Well, I'm afraid it's our old friend, or really nemesis, LaNina. I spoke about this a few weeks ago. LaNina is starting to intensify, and now it's labeled as a moderate to strong event, likely. And again, if we look at the impacts from a LaNina for this part of the country, it does bring us warmer than normal and drier than normal air more often than not during the cool season. While the outlooks aren't good, the cure is pretty easy. It's simply moisture. So we need some rainfall. Later on, we need some good snows even. We'll take anything we can get at this point to alleviate these drought conditions. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.
The Oklahoma State Dairy Program has seen some big changes to the student experience recently, including access to some of the latest technologies, which ensure firsthand knowledge for the next generation of dairy industry leaders in Oklahoma and around the country.
For me, growing up in agriculture was a true blessing. I actually grew up on a registered dairy farm in Southwest Missouri, and so I always knew that I wanted to continue that and pursue a degree in agriculture. But the dairy farm really is why I chose to come to Oklahoma State. Technology is a kind of an evolutionary thing, and we've seen that so much within the dairy industry. We have a robotic milking system. That is something that's really changed a lot of dairymen's life and kind of really set the scene of things within the dairy industry.
There are a lot of farms that are working with these robots. That means we need feed advisors that understand the concept. We need veterinarians that know how to work in these facilities. We need all these different kids that are going to be adults, that are going to be the future of this industry, to have an idea of how to work differently.
The robot gives us a unique opportunity to highlight that we have this new cutting edge technology, that if you want to work with De La Valle or with companies like De La Valle providing support, developing new programs, doing IT, anything like that, we have that available here for those students to get hands-on learning experience. It's a whole new aspect, and not a lot of people get to work with a robot at all. So right now, for students coming in, it's a great asset.
But it's also going to give students the ability to learn new skills about technology, about dairy farming, and about dairy herd management, both with a robotic milking system and the traditional way, as we still milk animals in the parlor. So it really gives students the best of both worlds, and gives them the practical and applicable skills that they are going to be able to take into the future, into any career that they choose to pursue in the industry, because we are offering a unique and one-of-a-kind experience for those students, setting them up to be lifelong leaders in the industry.
Well, higher prices are the headlines in the market. So Kim, what are the headlines saying?
Well, if you look at this last week, one of them was Algeria. They offered $265 a metric ton. They paid $229 a metric ton last year. That's 98-cent price difference in the last year, and they didn't get it bought at $265. They had to pay a higher price. You got Ukraine export wheat price hits 2-season high. In other words, 2 years ago was the last time wheat prices were this high. Russia wheat price up $8 a metric ton from previous week because of high demand. Will Ukraine plant in December? And so what we got is significantly higher prices, and then we got problems planting the Ukraine crop and the Russian crop.
So just how high have prices increased?
Well, if you look at wheat here in Oklahoma, go back to mid-August, wheat was around $3.81 a bushel, peaked out at $5.07 last week. It's around $4.90 now. That's a $1.10 price increase. Corns went from around $3 to $3.75, 75-cent price increase there since mid-August. Soybeans from $8.10 to $9.90, peaked at $10.14. That's a $1.80 price increase. So we've had some good price increases in the grains.
You know, so that's great news. So what's been causing the increase?
If you look at wheat, it's export demand. You've got your importing countries, they're buying in advance. Egypt, it was reported, they normally carry 3 to 4 months in storage. They're trying to get 6 months worth of wheat in storage. Because of COVID and other things going on in the world market, the importers are wanting to buy ahead. Also, you've got the suppliers of wheat in Russia. They've got new storage. They're Russia, Ukraine, their exports are below last year's levels, so they're holding back wheat for later in the year. Then you look at drought conditions. You've got Ukraine's planted acres are maybe 9% less than last year. You know, what was that headline? Will they plant in December? Russia, maybe 8 to 12% less acres because of drought. Our hard red winter wheat area, drought. Argentina, drought conditions. So you got some problems in Argentina coming up with the 2020 crop and looking out to the future with the hard red winter wheat crops.
So just how high do you think prices are going to go?
Well, that's hard to tell, and that's anybody's guess. It depends on what's happening in this import situation. But you've got to look at the production, world production, 28.4 billion bushels, 28.6 billion average. Ending stocks, record, 11.8 billion bushel, 11 billion last year, 10.1 billion 5-year average. The world stocks to use ratio is 43%. A record is 40% last year. So we've got lots of wheat out there. So I think prices could peak out relatively soon.
So should producers take advantage of these higher prices?
Well, if you still got wheat, I believe I'd sell on these rallies and pull the trigger. If you're talking about forward contracting out to next year with these drought conditions, with tightening supplies in the United States on hard red winter wheat and all wheat, I might price just a little bit, but I wouldn't price a whole lot for the 2021 crop.
All righty, Kim. Kim Anderson, grain marketing specialist here at Oklahoma State University. And now to Courtney Bir, who's got some information on the PPP program.
So there's actually an exciting new addition to PPP, and it has to do with the forgiveness of the loans. So if you have a loan of $50,000 or less, they've streamlined the forgiveness process for you. So first thing you need to do is talk to your lender. They will give you the form 3508S. And what you'll need to make sure you have is certification showing that you have your forgivable payroll and non-payroll expenses. You have to have the numbers for that, but you will not have to turn those in. So instead, you have to retain those documents for 6 years and just report it on the form. One of the things with all of these government programs, including PPP, is that everyone had to have their financials in order to be able to apply for these. So what we're actually doing is we've partnered with Minnesota, and they have a long history of doing farm financial planning. And so we are offering to everyone in Oklahoma, both farms and ranches, to contact us, and we will help you do a beginning balance sheet. If we get enough interest in this, we can start doing full farm financial plans. We can help you with decision making in terms of adding a new enterprise or other things like that. Our main goal is to contribute to FinBin. So FinBin is this large database that you can use to compare yourself to other farms and ranches. Right now, there's not Oklahoma data in that system. So if you want to compare your financials or calving data, you have to compare it to Nebraska or Texas. So it'll be really great for our farmers and ranchers to have Oklahoma data in there. But in order to do that, we have to have farmer buy-in, and they'll have to email me and we'll match you up with someone near your area. Right now we're doing virtual, but eventually we'd like to actually get in contact with these folks and have some good meetings about farm financial data.
At this time of year, every rancher wonders if they've got enough hay stored to get them through the winter. And quite frankly, there's never going to be one answer that fits every situation. We know from the research that a dry pregnant cow is going to consume about 2% of her body weight on a daily basis of average quality grass hay or standing forage, whatever's available to her. And that situation can vary a little bit according to the quality of the hay. If it's real low quality, they won't consume that much. If it's higher quality, they can consume even more. We've talked about that in the past. But let's assume that 2%. Average weight of a beef cow at this time of the year, let's use 1,200 pounds. I just kind of pull that number out of the air as what I think an average commercial cow herd might weigh. That means that she's going to consume 24 pounds of grass or grass hay on a daily basis, and it's considered to be 100% dry matter. Now we know that even though that hay has been stored since last June, that it's still not 100% dry matter. There's a little moisture in it, probably 7 to 8%. So we have to adjust that 24 pounds a day that the cow can consume up just a little bit to account for that. But a bigger adjustment comes into play when we think about when we're feeding those big round bales, hay wastage that can take place. A typical number is about 15%. So as we put those two adjustments into what the cow actually will need to have carried to her every day throughout the course of the winter until she calves, it goes from 24 pounds up to actually 30 pounds of actual hay that we need to haul out to those cows on a daily basis. Once that cow calves, that cow, while she's lactating, will have to consume even more feed to provide the extra energy that she needs to produce the milk. The lactating cow will actually consume about 2.6% of her body weight, and so now we need to adjust what the lactating cow will need after she calves this spring up to about 36 pounds of actual hay we need to haul out to her. So now we have these two numbers from which we can estimate then the hay needs for these cows through the course of the winter. About 30 pounds per head per day before she calves, 36 pounds per head per day after she calves, and then it's a matter of guessing, of course, how many days we're going to have to feed those cows, and it's going to vary from operation to operation, winter to winter. Perhaps past experience can help you judge that a little bit. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about feeding nutrition, hay and supplement needs for beef cows through the course of the year, I'd suggest you go to the SUNUP website. That's sunup.okstate.edu. It has a lot of information to help you calculate the feed needs for your cattle this winter. Hey, we look forward to visiting with you again next week on SUNUP's Cow-Calf Corner.
Planters have been rolling across the state over the past month or so, which has been turning that bare ground into this beautiful green. And that's kind of got us nostalgic for wheat harvest. This morning we're taking a trip back to 2016 and the wheat harvest we did in Texas County.
The wheat in Texas County looks better than it has in years.
Test weight and yields and everything seem really good.
Dan Harold and his son, along with the rest of the crew, are in the thick of harvest. Everybody has a job to do, including 90-year-old patriarch Ernest Harold.
I'm as near retired as I can get, I guess. No, I'm the gopher.
Hello. Far from it. A gopher with a lifetime of experience that includes surviving the Dust Bowl. The Harold family is cutting more than 3,200 acres, varieties like Iba and Endurance, all dry land, no irrigation. Mother Nature cooperated with terrific growing conditions and minimal disease pressure.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
In the combine with Dan, sophisticated sensors keep tally on everything. Yields averaging 70 bushels per acre, low moisture, and a steady speed. Slower than last year because the wheat is so thick. The tractor and grain cart approach and we unload on the go. Harvest multitasking at its best. And take a close look at this combine's header.
This we started in 2011 using Shelburne stripper headers. They don't cut the straw, they just pull the head off and leave a lot more stubble, and the additional shade helps us minimize the weed population, and also shade reduces soil temperature, which helps moisture conservation.
No-till farming along with crop rotation. Ernest has witnessed a lot since first running a combine at age 14.
The biggest change has been fertilizer, farming methods, and research, just improvement on plants, the type we're planting, our farm management. Everybody's learned to do better. We've got better wheat than we had 50 years ago.
Case in point, Ernest takes us to the nearby OSU variety test plots. to meet up with Texas County Extension educator Arlene James.
The field looked wonderful this year. We are looking for a home run crop, a bumper crop, a crop that will surpass previous years.
Back in the field, the combines continue to roll.
So is your house close to here?
It is. It's actually that group of trees right there.
They are proud here to say this isn't the end of the earth, but you can see it from here. In this cab, along these rows, there is space and time and quiet solitude. And for Dan, like his own father before him, a closeness with Mother Nature.
Well, you're working for yourself, and your degree of excellence, your degree of dedication to it has a major part in your success, and so it's gets you closer to God, closer to nature. You are significantly dependent on the blessings that come from God and rain and the kind of weather that you need. So I feel like it's a good environment to raise a family in.
Well, that does it for us this week on SUNUP. If there's something on the show that you'd like to learn more about, visit our website, sunup.okstate.edu. And while you're there, check out our social media. From the Purebred Center here at Oklahoma State University, I'm Dave Deacon. And remember, Oklahoma agriculture starts at SUNUP.